Hey, what up, guys? So, I want to drop my top 50 players to you in audio form, so I can give you a little explanation, as on some of the ones you might have questions about. So, here we go. We got Chase Young at one, Joe Burrow at two, Justin Herbert at three, Tua at four, Jeff Okuda at five. Okay, so yes, I have Herbert over Tua. Part of that is because of Tua's injury. But that's not the whole. If Tua were completely healthy, I think I'd still have it the same way. And as much as this is going to make some people mad, I'm very close, guys. I'm very close to having Herbert as QB1. And I it seems like I do this every year, and I don't intend on just being different to be different. But I had Baker Mayfield as QB1 a few years ago. That ended up actually happening is in terms of where he got drafted. But if you remember that pre-draft process, it was not Baker was not consensus number one. He was pretty polarizing. He was like, some had him at one, but most people had Sam Darnold at one. Some had Josh Allen at one. It was kind of like one of those years. But in my opinion, I mean, so I had Baker there. Last year I had Drew Lock, and the NFL didn't agree with me there because Drew didn't go until the second round, which I still think is ridiculous because I still think Drew Lock's the best quarterback in that class. Um, but as we saw, Drew Lock actually played pretty well down the stretch, and it's not impossible to believe that he will be, when it's all said and done, the best quarterback from that class. So this year, that guy to me is Justin Herbert, man. I'm right now. I still have Burrow ahead of him because I value production so much, and Burrow just produced at by far the highest level. But last year, what I made a mistake on, in my opinion, was in my evaluation of Daniel Jones was was full context. I think having context as to the supporting cast in especially in regard to how or who you're going up against, right? So Burrow had a phenomenal supporting cast, but he also had to go up against a murderer's row of SEC defenses, and he passed, and the ACC in terms of Clemson, and he passed every test flawlessly. I mean, he really did. He dominated essentially in every single game. Like every game. I mean, his stat line didn't look quite as good against Clemson, but he turned it on down the stretch and was the same guy we've seen all year. So it's hard for me, and right now, like I'm telling you, I still have Burrow at two ahead of Justin Herbert as QB1, but it is close. So what I'm going to do to kind of finalize this is I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch like 5 games on Burrow, and then immediately after I'm going to watch 5 games on Herbert, and then just to be extra thorough, I'm going to watch 5 games on Tua. And I may do that multiple times throughout this process to kind of differentiate, but that's what I'm going to do because I'm that close to putting Justin Herbert as QB1. I really am. I mean, people say he can't make plays outside of structure. Have you watched him? Because I see plays outside of structure pretty frequently. I see him escape the pocket, go to his right, and fire a perfect strike outside the numbers in a tight window. I see these plays, like the one I posted on Instagram and Twitter the other day, was he took a shot. He was looking to his left, pumps left, sees the post route coming open over the middle, which was coming from the right side of the field, and turns his head, fires, gets hit at his feet, like could have been an injury play. Like he got hit right in the front of his legs and went down awkwardly as he released it, but put it on a rope for a 40-yard completion, perfectly placed. I mean, this dude makes throws that no one else makes. He can run like no other quarterback can run. If I just broke it down to you like this, who has the best arm in the class? Justin Herbert. Who's the most accurate quarterback in the class? Yeah, I know you'll say Burrow, and I'll agree with you, but it is very close because Herbert, when he does, when he has his feet underneath him, which he normally does, the accuracy issues are a bit overblown in my opinion. When he's right mechanically, he is an excellent, accurate passer from all levels of the field. He can throw with touch. Yes, he can. I hear that bullshit too. The man can throw with touch. I see it. And he can put it in a tight window. He can jam it in. He can throw it however he needs to throw it. So let's recap again. Who has the best arm? Herbert. Who's the most physically imposing? Herbert. Who has the best legs? Probably Herbert. Who can make plays outside of structure the best? Burrow. but Burrow is probably overall more accurate and can make more plays outside of structure. But I'll tell you what, it is a lot closer than people think in those two areas, and that is where that is where Burrow separates himself. But Herbert is right on his heels, and if you think, remember, when you're scouting college players and you're projecting them to the next level, you're not saying what did they do well in college all the time. You're saying what did they do well in college that I believe will translate even against elite competition. I don't think Burrow will be as dominant from a playmaking outside of structure standpoint, and I think Herbert has a chance to become much better in that regard because he is the more athletic player. He's bigger, stronger, faster. You know what I mean? He's I don't know. So, like I said, I'm really close, and right now I still give her Burrow the advantage there. But to me, it's a whole lot closer than most people think, and I also believe that the NFL is going to be in somewhat of an agreement with me on this. I would bet there are locker rooms or front offices divided on this subject. So, okay, yeah, Tua was number 4. Dude, Tua is awesome. I mean, I'm not throwing shade at Tua. He's number 4 because he doesn't have a big arm, and I know we've gotten to the point where we don't believe that that matters, but I still put something into that because you need to be able to fit it into tight windows in cold weather. Dude, the NFL game is not all this zone coverage. Okay, there's a lot of man coverage, and a lot of times, especially against good teams, the windows are tight, and the decision making has to be quick. You cannot hold it, and then you'll just have wide open guys running down the field that you just toss it to. That's not always the case. Okay, that is still exists, of course, but it's not always the case. All right. So then 5 is Jeff Okuda. He's like literally a perfect corner. I don't know what you want. That's pretty much all the explanation I need to give for him. Okay, number 6, Derek Brown. Number 7 is Isaiah Simmons. Kinlaw at number 8. Number 9, Andrew Thomas. Number 10, Tristan Wirfs. So as you can see, I'm just going to name the in increments of 5, and then I'm going to give a little synopsis on why or what my thoughts are on each. So Derek Brown at 6. Brown is just a massive, powerful defensive tackle. He's going to be excellent against the run immediately. He will offer some pass rush right away. I believe he can get better in that regard. He gives up his chest a little bit too often, and he has a couple little flaws here, but I think that just his overall power and his overall um, technique, motor, everything he has is going to translate very well to the next level. Jeff Simmons, I'm sorry, keep calling him Jeff. Isaiah Simmons at 7. Yeah, I know he ran like 4.4 or whatever, 4.39. That's fantastic. It doesn't surprise me at all, though. I totally expected that. I mean, not necessarily expected it, but it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Isaiah Simmons is, to me, he's a will linebacker. Um, that's where he will mostly play at the next level, and I think he'll be an unbelievable player right away. Essentially, so I think he can rush the passer extremely well. I tweeted out maybe a month ago that where would he be drafted if he told him I'm only playing edge rusher. I still think he'd be a first round pick, to be honest. I don't think he's a safety at the next level. I think you could do some big nickel and you could play him at safety here and there. But I think, like I said, he's a will linebacker and he's going to be a damn good one right away. Probably top 10 in the league right off the bat in that regard. So number 8, Javon Kinlaw. Man, I just watched South Carolina versus Alabama immediately after I watched um, Auburn versus Alabama. And I'll tell you what, Kinlaw, if you just watch those two games and base your evaluation off those games, just because it's the exact same competition, Kinlaw would be the better player. And this is sort of similar to where I'm at with Herbert and Burrow. I'm close, believe it or not, to having Kinlaw above Derek Brown. Kinlaw is just a powerful, chiseled defensive tackle to me, he might even have higher pass rushing upside at the next level. So Kinlaw at 8, Andrew Thomas at 9, and Tristan Wirfs at 10. So Thomas is a left tackle. He's a pure left tackle. That's all he played at Georgia, or at least the last 2 years, all that I watched. And he was excellent. I mean, the production over that time was awesome, and it's in the SEC. He played very well. He didn't really get beat up on. You can't really say, oh, this guy tormented him. Like I don't see that. And he's got it all. He's got the length, size, the production. Andrew Thomas, number 9, number 10. Tristan Wirfs, OT2 for me, and I've had him at OT2 since pretty much, I started ranking guys. Um, and I know after the combine, with the way he tested, a lot of more guys will have him as OT2 or maybe up in this range. I just think his tape was excellent. I think he played right tackle for the majority of the time, but I think that he could play left tackle, and I watched him play it, I believe, in 2 games. So he has the potential to. He has the ability to play left tackle. I'd be fairly certain, especially after watching his measurements and testing numbers. I'm fairly certain he could play either side, and he's most definitely a tackle. And all right, so here's 11 through 15. CD Lamb is a new wide receiver 1 for me. 12 is Jedrick Wills. 13, Jerry Jeudy. 14, Henry Ruggs. 15, Christian Fulton. So on the third segment, if you will, I have um, I have the receivers. All the receivers come off the board for me, or come onto my board. CD Lamb to me is what separates him is he's just more physically imposing. And guys, as many people will tell you, like, oh, size is a myth. And I had somebody tell me that on Twitter the other day. Size is a myth. Like, do you understand how physical this game is, especially at the highest level? Like, size is not a myth. Just because there are outliers, there are guys that can succeed being undersized, that does not mean that size does not matter. Okay? Like, that's not realistic. What's realistic is size is not a myth. Size matters, but there are some guys that are so talented that they can perform at the highest level undersized. Okay? That's that. So, CeeDee Lamb is just the most physically imposing receiver. He can win from press. He can win outside. He runs much better routes than I initially thought. And there really isn't much of a weakness to his game. He's better than I thought he would. He's better than I thought he was after my first initial viewing of him. That's why it's really important to go back and watch guys a second, third, fourth time, as much as you can, and so you have that conviction of like, oh, okay, this is who he is. So there's every time I watch CD Lamb, there are less and less questions to me in regards to his game and how it will translate to the next level. Remember, we're translating here. We're not playing college ball. We're translating to NFL game. 12 is Jedrick Wills. He is a beast. He's a phenomenal athlete. He probably has the highest ceiling, or at least very close to the highest ceiling of any tackle in this class. I love his game. I just think that he loses more reps than people will. He loses reps without consequence. That is what I've seen. He's lost some reps without consequence that um, you know I'm holding against him because I'm projecting a translation. So again, he's a top 12 player, so calm down. I'm not saying he's trash. I think he's a very, very good football player, but I also think that he's the third best tackle in the draft. So 13, Jerry Jeudy. Jerry's the best route runner in the class. Um, the reason I moved him below CD Lamb is, like I told you, CD's more physically imposing, in number one. But number two, um, Jerry Jeudy, I believe he's going to have to be mainly a slot receiver. I comp him to Calvin Ridley. I think he's really similar to Calvin Ridley. Not a phenomenal athlete, but he's an unbelievable route runner. Jeudy is better than Calvin Ridley. Don't get me wrong. Calvin Ridley was in the late 20s for me coming out, is where he ranked. But Jeudy is a phenomenal route runner, one of the best I've ever seen as a route runner coming out of the college level. And, he pretty much can do everything well, but he's just not as good as CeeDee Lamb. I don't think he can win outside consistently in certain matchups. Like if he was to play against somebody like a prime Richard Sherman, I think that'd be a really tough matchup for him. I think we haven't seen him get off press enough from the outside to be able to confidently project that he will be an outside dominant receiver. Like he's not Julio Jones, he's more Calvin Ridley than he is Julio Jones. So, um, still a top 13 player in the class for me. So calm down. But that's where he is. 14, Henry Ruggs. Now this guy, I think he has the highest ceiling of any receiver in the class. With that 4.2 speed, and he's more chiseled than he looks. So I mean, he's more chiseled than his size would indicate. So I think he can play outside. For some reason, this is just my intuition. I'm more confident predicting that Henry Ruggs can play outside at the next level than I am Jerry Jeudy. Ruggs has the floor of rookie season Tyreek Hill with the ceiling of Tyreek Hill slash Antonio Brown ish. Okay, maybe not that high, but in that ballpark because of what he can do and the improvement he's shown as a route runner. Um, is one that makes me feel very confident. I almost, to be honest with you, just like the previous two segments where I've had I'm almost at Kinlaw greater than Brown. I'm almost at Herbert greater than Burrow. In this one, I'm almost Ruggs greater than Jeudy. Not than CeeDee Lamb, but I'm almost at Ruggs greater than Jeudy based on what I'm projecting his skill set to be at the next level or what it can be. All right, 16 through 20. Zach Bond at 16. Man, I love this guy. This guy, I made a little cut up of him on Instagram, and I called him the Christian McCaffrey of defense, right? And the reason I said that is because Christian McCaffrey, if he would have entered the draft and he would have said, "Hey, I'm only a wide receiver," like I'm a slot receiver, draft me as that. I think he'd still be a second round pick. If he would have said, I'm only a running back, I don't want to catch the ball at all, he'd still be a probably first round pick, maybe second. So my point is with Zach Bond, he is an off ball linebacker at the quality of he's easily worth a late first, second round pick as just an off ball linebacker. But when you factor in what he can do as a pass rusher, because that's really what he did at Wisconsin, he was an edge rusher. When you factor that in, now you're looking at a guy that literally can do multiple things for you. So let's say it's, second down and 2, well, he's off ball, right? That's where you'll play him. But if it's second down and 12, well, now he'll slide down and rush off the edge, or third and 12. So that's what Zach Bond is to me. I think he has adequate play strength and lateral and movement skills, agility to play both. I mean, he really can cover off the ball. I've seen him do it. I'm not projecting totally that I have seen it happen. Oh, I forgot to touch on Christian Fulton at number 15. Christian Fulton has the best feet to mirror in this class of any corner. I think people are unfairly harsh on him for one game against Clemson, against Clemson, where many a corner struggled. I think Fulton's going to be a dynamic football player. I think he's a CB1 right away on the outside, or he can play in the slot. Like he's a man. He's a man corner that can really move, and I think his speed has been questioned, and I don't think it needs to be. He's underrated. Number 17, Xavier McKinney, just an all-around do-it-all safety. That I mean, the guy can do it all. He can play in the box. He can play deep middle, and he can even play some like dime linebacker type stuff. He really can do a lot of things, and I love his game. So, he, okay, now I have, let me see, 20 first round grades in this class. 20 true first round grades. So we're almost to the end of that. So now, this is where kind of like the questions come in. Okay, so AJ Epinesa is not there. Okay, he's still a first round grade to me. He'll be an at least 7 to 10 sack per season guy, and he'll play excellent run defense for you. I don't give a damn what he tested. I've seen it, and I'm confident to project that skill set to the next level as a 7 to 10 sack guy who's going to play excellent run defense, and that means to me he's a first round talent. Josh Jones has dropped, I know. I'm still high on Josh Jones, but I went back and like I'm going to do with everybody, and I'm going to continue to do so. These rankings will probably change. Josh Jones went. I dug deeper and deeper and deeper, and I saw some flaws that I didn't see initially. So I think Josh Jones is a day one starting left tackle, so you have to give him top 20 respect and a true first round grade. But I just think that there are areas where he's not quite on the level of the other offensive tackles in this class, and I still think he'll get better. But I do think that he's kind of right on the fringe there. So that's why he's bottom of the first round for me. Trayvon Diggs, number 20. Yes, I'm higher on Diggs than most, man. I believe that he is going to be a very, very good corner, and I like really believe he's going to Seattle. I just don't see how he does it. But even if he goes to San Francisco or something like that, which he may be available for them at the end of the first round, Trevon Diggs is a day one starter, and you can just count on him. You know what I mean? He's going to be a good football player from day one. 21, Neville Gallimore. Oh, yeah, so 21 through 25 is Neville Gallimore, CJ Henderson, Brandon Ayuk, Cesar Ruiz, and Ashton Davis. So we've got Neville is a dominant three technique, explosive defense tackle, gets up the field, one gap and go. CJ Henderson is a guy that can play man, can play zone, and he is cat like movement skills. Brandon Ayuk at 23. This guy is one of my favorite players in the class. He's one of quote unquote my guys. Uh, he is going to be a yak monster. He's got a similar to Debo Samuel, DJ Moore mold as far as the way he's built and whatnot. So I think Brandon Ayuk is a better route runner than you think. And I think he has better ball skills with his 81-inch wingspan. Brandon Ayuk he'll be a at least combined 1,000-yard rookie season offensive performance guy with about 5 to 7 touchdowns. So, yeah, Brandon Ayuk's at 23. Cesar Ruiz, he doesn't lose. I haven't seen him lose a rep. I haven't seen him. I've seen him win less. I mean, win reps in less dominant fashion, but I haven't seen him lose a rep. So he's an interior offensive. He played center at Michigan. He could probably play guard or center at the next level. Ashton Davis, safety from Cal. I really like his game, and this guy was I think he was a track star that walked onto the football team at Cal. He is a dynamic player, and he has plenty enough desire and will to play against the run, while also being able to play deep middle and to cover tight ends in situations. So, yeah, Ashton Davis 25 for me. Now here's 26 through 30. Excuse me. Jordan Love at 26, Jacob Eason at 27, Jordan Elliott, defense tackle from Missouri at 28, Noah Igbenogany at 29, and Kenneth Murray at 30. So, Jordan Love and Jacob Eason, I grouped them together because I'm kind of right there on them both. You know, I'm kind of similar viewpoint on both. Low floor, high ceiling. Great arm talent, mediocre production. Jordan Love produced great in 2018, and I understand that his situation changed very much in 2019. But man, when you put up 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions in college, and you look very average at times, it's hard to confidently project that you're going to be very good at the next level. The thing that has me worried in my evaluation of him is he this year's Daniel Jones? I need to go back and watch more tape because that's what you do when you're not sure, when you don't have strong conviction. So I will, but right now, as of right now, Jordan Love is down at 26 for me. Jacob Eason, similar story. I mean, he's either going to be a horrible player or he's going to be a very, 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 very good football quarterback in the next level. So I'll go back and watch more film on him. But right now, I have him at 27. Jordan Elliott, I think, is a one gap and go, penetrating three technique. He can play maybe some one technique as well. Noah Igbenogany, to me, Noah is almost like the Cesar Ruiz of corners in this draft for me. I don't see him lose many reps. Some of them I do see him win with less dominance, but Noah is a very good player. He can play some inside too. Um, he's almost a true first round grade for me. He just got knocked back a few slots, but Kenneth Murray at 30. Man, I was so high on Kenneth when I first watched him, and then I went back. You know, I keep saying, you have to do. I went back and watched him, and I see some false steps that I didn't see initially. He false steps a little bit more than I'd like, but he just has such supreme athleticism, and when he is instinctual, but it's just like sometimes he gets a little bit overzealous, I think. So Kenneth Murray is he's going to be a first round pick, and he's deservingly so. He comes in at 30 for me. 31 through 35 is Patrick Queen, linebacker LSU. Yetur Gross-Matos, edge from Penn State. Jalen Rieger, Cameron Dantzler, corner from Mississippi State, and Denzel Mims, wide receiver Baylor. So, Patrick Queen is another guy. He's similar to Kenneth Murray. He just when he makes the plays that you love him, and then he also has moments where you're like, what was that? I gotta speed up here, guys, because I don't have much time left. But Yetur Gross-Matos is a dude that really is not being talked about nearly enough. But this man has I think he's got arms over 35 inches, and he has incredible movement skills for that size, and he's strong, and He's pretty polished, in my opinion, as a pass rusher with his hands. And yeah, I mean, he's just number 32 on board. Jalen Rieger. I'm not totally concerned about his agility drills, even though I do value that, and I will go back and watch more tape on him now because of that. So that at least earned a go back and watch more from me. But I'm not gonna panic yet. 34 is Cameron Dantzler. This kid is light. If he wasn't so light in the britches, I would probably even have him a little higher. I might have him by the end of this process. He might surpass Noah Igbenogany for me, just because of the flashes of the high points for him are excellent. It's just I worry about number 35 Denzel size. Mims. Dude, I'm sorry, but what Denzel Mims just keeps going up my board because he keeps answering the call. I don't put a ton in the combine, but I do put some, and he dominated. I mean, a 6.66 cone is insane from a guy that's like 6'3", 210 or whatever he is. He ran a much faster 40 than I thought. He absolutely dominated at the Senior Bowl, showing his diversity in the route tree. Denzel Mims is easily a top 35 player now. Caleb Chason at 36, Mekhi Becton 37, Ross Blacklock 38, T. Higgins 39, and Jalen Johnson, the corner from Utah, checks in at 40. So Caleb Chason, I'm a little bit lower on him than most people are. I love his athleticism. I love his movement skills. I love his high points are great. You know, I just worry that's why I grouped him right next to Mekhi Becton because I'm right there on both of them. You know, I like them. I like what I see when I see the good, but I also I have concerns, and you know, lack of production from Chason is one of them. Mekhi Becton is just I don't see him as a. I worry about how he'll handle NFL edge rushers in pass rushing situations because he did struggle at times in pass rush. I mean, in pass protection at the college level. So Ross Blacklock worries me that he checked in that he weighed in only 290. He worries me there, but I still like his tape, and you know, if anything, I'll go back and watch. But um, 39 T Higgins, wide receiver from Clemson. I like T, but he's a lesser version of Denzel Mims in my opinion, so that's why he's below Mims and at 39. Jalen Johnson from Utah, the corner. I really like Jalen Johnson. I think he's a. I might be low on him to be honest with you, but he's a good football player. He's almost always in position to contest the ball at the catch point, and I like his game. So 41 through 45 here: Grant Delpit, Laviska Shenault, Bryce Hall, Jeff Gladney, and Damon Arnett. Yeah. I know I'm a little bit lower on Laviska and Delpit than most people, but dude, to me, when people say tackling isn't that important for a safety, I don't agree. Okay, yeah, he can cover, but I worry when you go from a level of production and then a year later it declines. And I know people are saying injury or whatever, and I guess that should be it, but you should still not look that much worse. Okay, so that's where Delpit loses me a little bit. Laviska Shenault, I don't see elite ball skills from him as a receiver, and I don't see a polished route runner. So I think I'm exactly where I should be on Laviska at 42, even though he'll be a productive player as a playmaker, quote unquote. But you know, right away. But you can just put the ball in his hands and let him make plays like that. But I mean, if he's Cordero Patterson, where are you drafting that guy? I'm not doing it in the first round again. All right. So 46 through 50, I got Zach Moss, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, I know, all five running backs to finish it out. But listen, man, I don't know how to like. This is where I have these guys, and I have them all so close. You know what I mean? That I just put them. This is just kind of how it ended up. But I think they're all top 50 players, and I also think that there's so little separation between them that this was the most practical way for me to do it. It might change, but as of now, this is where I have them, and they all graded out so closely on my numerical grading scale, anyways, that this is kind of where I have them. So Zach Moss is RB1 because I just think he's the most complete. J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, and the outlier here, and probably most people don't have this guy in their top five running backs, is Antonio Gibson. Um, look, man, Antonio Gibson at 220 plus pounds ran like 4.39, and right, like I'm not big in the combine, and that doesn't surprise me from him at all either. But I think it surprised a lot of other people, and I'm excited by that because I think that nobody pays attention to this guy because he's like a tweener, right? Like kind of like that Tony Pollard role at Memphis. But when this guy flashes, he flashes elite upside. And here's the other part of that. Does he have production? No, not really. Well, he does, but he doesn't have like a lot of it in terms of volume. But literally every time he touched the ball, good things happen. And where's the like the question I'll pose to you if you challenge me on this is where's the weakness? If if I tell you if he was to touch the ball 20 times a game, he might be in the Heisman Trophy race. You know what I mean? Like, or at least the award for best running back in the NFL. I mean, in the nation. um, Antonio Gibson scored a touchdown like every 5.9 touches, and he averaged I think 18 yards per touch, somewhere in there. It's close to that. Um, yeah, man. I just I'm gonna bet on his athleticism and production, even though it's a smaller sample size. I'm gonna bet on it because I just believe in it. I believe that he's a guy that will play full time running back at the next level. He's not gonna be a receiver, but I also believe he runs pretty damn good routes in terms of it for a running back. And I think that he's gonna be an excellent player at the NFL. And I think he has dare I say like David Johnson upside, some like good David Johnson before the injuries and all that. So yeah, guys that on on the outside looking in, and it really bothered me that didn't make the top 50. Lucky Fotu, defensive tackle from Utah, is one of them, and Jake Fromm is another one. I like Jake Fromm a lot. His hand size worries me. Okay, they're a little bit small. Um, well, they're really small, but I didn't see that on film, and he does have some mechanical issues he needs to correct. But I do think Jake can be an NFL starter, and I think Lucky Fotu is a dude that is going to. He's a poor man's Vita Vea. That's what he is. If you remember, Vita Vea from Washington came out a couple years ago. Lucky Fotu is a poor man's Vita Vea. I've seen him play 0 through 3 techniques along defensive line, and I've seen him offer push as a pass rusher. I've seen him as a quick penetrating guy. I think he's more than just a two gapper. Actually, that's kind of his weakness. Is he's not strong enough, weirdly, or he's not as strong as I expected him to be in two gap situations or holding the point versus double. So, anyways, guys, that's top 50, and this will probably change, or some of it will, I'm sure, at least the ordering on it. But I think this is absolutely the best product I can give you for a top 50. I'll continue to rework this top 50 list for the entirety of the draft season. And if you have any content suggestions that you want me to do, just let me know in the comments or whatever, and or DM me or whatever. And I appreciate you guys. All right, later.